Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you're having a good morning so far. Thanks for taking a few minutes out of your day to hang out with me here on the channel. So on today's agenda, we do have some more work lined up for us, thankfully. It's been a slow, about a slow 2 weeks, I'd say, between my day job not having any work for me because of equipment issues, so I haven't been there. And then I finished up all my work at conveniently the same time that they decided to be like, hey, you know, just don't come in for the next like 2 weeks because we ain't got nothing for you. So it's been a little bit stressful. That's also why I haven't posted much, because I just really have not had anything going on. I've had no work to do. I've had no progress updates on the cars. I've literally just kind of been sitting here with my freaking thumbs twiddling around. But today we have some work, so let me show you. Birds are chirping on this super crispy Wednesday morning. Yep, so this Civic, if you guys remember, this guy is back. So this is the one that was on the channel when I built the EG bumper bars. This guy was kind enough to let me use his car as the template car. So this one actually is a K20 A2, I believe. I think it's the same swap as mine, but this one also happens to be on ethanol and nitrous. So one of the things that I pointed out one of the last times I was working on this car is that his exhaust is completely clapped, falling apart, and he knew about it. He just didn't have the funds or the stuff to do it at the time. And he hit me up last night. I was like, hey, I got exhaust stuff. Are you down for a quick job? And I was like, absolutely. So let's jump right into it. I got to pull this thing into the yard, obviously, and he did say that he needs to get it retuned because the cold starts on this thing have been atrocious because it was tuned in the summer. So obviously temperature is much different here in Arizona in the summer as compared to the winter mornings, because we're down here in the 40s in the mornings, and summer we're usually like 90-100 degrees in the mornings. So let's try and fire this thing up on good old E85. Remind me not to do ethanol. I don't know. He did say it took forever to get it started in the mornings, which is obviously problematic. I'm gonna let it sit for a minute. I don't know. I definitely smell the ethanol, so I guess I'll keep trying here in a moment. Hopefully it fires up because I don't want to push it. Yeah, I've been trying for a good 10 minutes to fire this thing up now. It just is not happening. The starter is definitely getting burnt out. It's like overheated right now because it's not even wanting to click the starter over. I keep on having to let it sit for a minute or two at a time. So I'm gonna just push it. So I'll just start on that. So on top of building the exhaust, we're also, I think, doing some shift detent springs, and then I think I'm also putting in like a new wideband sensor and a new header. But he has everything in the back here, so, oh yeah, I forgot, these things open funny. So I was under the impression that I was building an exhaust, but it looks like, judging by the box, SpeedFactory, I might just be assembling an exhaust, which is fine too. I mean, money is money. But yeah, this must be the header. He didn't say what he got, so I guess we shall open this quick and find out. I think this is the PLM, or this is the race K-tuned one. Okay, so hopefully this one fits. Yeah, I'm not sure which one this is. It's got the V-band and the springs to like attach all together. So this, does it even have a badge on it? Oh, 1320, that's what it is. I was gonna say, I feel like this looks familiar because I think I've installed one of these before on an RSX. Not sure what this is. This must be, oh, I think this is the new sensor. No, this is, oh, a V-band, okay. So that's a spare V-band, or it must be V-clamp to go with this setup. Anything else in this box? No, okay. This is a huge muffler. This is like 2002 size, or drift car size. This one says SpeedFactory. I mean, I've never ordered from them, but damn. Some nice looking pie cuts though, even though it's all just fusion laser welded or whatever, but yeah, that looks beefy and fancy. Definitely likes his big mufflers, because the one on there that's all blown out is pretty huge too. Seems to be in tune. Alright, well, judging by the looks of this, it almost looks like it's kind of like a pre-bent kit that you figure out and weld together. That's not a problem at all. So it's kind of like a 50-50. I'm kind of installing the exhaust slash assembling the exhaust. I'm gonna get this all unwrapped and I'll try and piece this together a little bit better, get our routing, but if this is all pre-bent to the car, that's just gonna make the job that much easier. Got this all unpackaged. So this is what we're working with. We got the 1320 header to the trumpet looking thingy, and then we have our second V-band to go to the other side of that V-band. We have pre-mandrel bent sections. I believe this is mild steel, but because I really like this guy and because I want to make sure this looks good, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to TIG weld the whole thing. Granted, there's not many joints, so that's a really good thing for me. And it looks like it's going to be pretty straightforward. I have to add the hangers accordingly. So let's just kind of jump into this. Car's already up off the ground, as you can see. I'm going to go ahead and pull the old stuff off and start working on the header, get all the exhaust off, get the header off, and then we can start piecing together this new setup. And then I will bust out the MIG welder. I will MIG tack the whole thing and then probably pull it off and TIG it from there. And if any of you are wondering why I may be wanting to TIG weld the mild steel when I can do just the same with the MIG, mostly because, again, I do like this guy, so I want him to have nicer stuff, and the TIG welding obviously comes out much nicer. And if this fits pretty darn good and all I have to do is weld 4 joints, I'd rather TIG it, because then it just puts that little extra touch of like I care into it, and I'm still trying to build my name locally, so I try to do stuff like that where it's appropriate, so that way I'm not completely eating cost, and that way it still is good for me, because I could just MIG it, I could have it done in 2 hours, but I don't know, it's just the quality, I guess. Like, the MIG weld is going to hold up, but the TIG just adds that extra touch of quality and tender care and love to it, so that's why I'm going to do it. This is one giant section, so we got crusty hangers. We are going to have to drop this control arm, unfortunately. Nah, I'm just going to cut that. Dude, this is really solid, huh? Alright, so turns out this is one giant exhaust. The only thing that's separating it is a 10mm bolt to the header, because it's another slip joint set of headers. Yeah, I don't get why people do that. I mean, unfortunately, this is going to be the same setup. If I had any flanges, which I might, I will see if I can add a flange at the tail section, because now I'm going to have to drop the control arm to do that, and that's just really poor craftsmanship, in my opinion. I don't get why exhaust shops do that.
I'm pretty sure that was ethanol dripping out of the pipe, unless it was condensation buildup, but it smelled really strongly like ethanol. So yeah, I'd say this thing needs a retune. I'm gonna go ahead and chop the tail section as well, I think. I don't know, I'll figure that out here in a second. I want to drop the arm, and I'd really rather keep the arm up in place because he's got a bunch of subframe bracing and all that, and just extra hardware that I really don't want to have to disassemble or deal with the hardware for. So I think I'm just going to try and cut this back section off, make it easy on myself. Got this garbage ass thing off. All of his hangers are busted, like, or at least most of them, like that, like that. So we should be good with using probably 2 or 3 hangers. I don't know. The whole thing is going to be super rigid, unfortunately, which is good and bad. There's no flex joint, so that's kind of the concern here. But I don't know. It is what it is. This is all customer supplied stuff, so it'll work. I mean, granted, it's just mild steel. If it was stainless, I'd be more concerned about it cracking. Obviously, none of this cracked. It's just hangers are super old hot rubber, and then the muffler shat itself. This one, I don't know how it's gonna fit, but this one, instead of using bolts, it uses springs. So hopefully this one goes together a little bit easier. That one's Megan Racing, this one's 1320. I know they're both kind of off brands, but I mean, we'll see. Went in much easier through the bottom, whereas the Megan one, for whatever reason, did not want to come out the bottom at all. So I don't know, maybe I'm just whatever. After more of a fight than should be necessary, the header is on, the springs are on. It fits decently well once you actually get it together, but the initial attaching the rear merge to the front collector, it's freaking tough, dude. But it's together, so now I can go ahead and I can start trying to mock up this front section. I believe this is obviously the front section. This will go to the gas tank area. So this part I'm gonna have to end up chopping somewhere, I can tell, because it's a pretty long header. So we're gonna try and mock this up real quick, get that to match the body line, and then just mark our line and chop it there. I got my line marked up so you can see it right here. That is basically where I need to cut, and then this section is not needed because, like I said, the header is so long, so we're just using this straight section from there to there. And then after this line, this is going to give me like an inch or so to slip into the next like S section. So we're going to cut there, test fit, and see how it fits. And if it fits good and we can slip joint the other one on, I'm gonna roll the welder out there and we'll tack it to the V-band. We'll tack the other slip joint on this portion, and then we can go working on the control arm S from there. So if you guys remember a while ago when I bought my blue little Miller-Matic welder, I bought it because my Harbor Freight titanium MiG 140 welder I thought had broken. Turns out that the trigger had become messed up, but a few months ago I took it apart, just bored one day, and I'm pretty sure I fixed it, and I finally got around to buying a new regulator. I still got to get an extra bottle so I can use it completely separate from this stuff. So my goal with it is, because it's so much smaller and lighter, and it just works so much better on the thinner material like the exhaust stuff, especially in this case where I can just carry it out there really easy. The blue one, much heavier. It's a transformer instead of an inverter model, I believe. But yeah, so I'm just hooking this up right now, putting a fresh spool of wire on here, and then we're gonna use my other bottle, the big bottle, on the blue welder, because the idea is to keep the blue welder here in the shop for my production work. So that way I can use a little welder for my mobile welding work, the little bit that I do, and then also so I can do it in the driveway, because like I said, it is smaller and easier to move around. But I'm pretty stoked, because if this is fixed, then that's great. That means I got 2 usable MIG welders, a TIG welder, and I also forgot I got a plasma cutter too now. I bought that the other day on Facebook, a brand new Prime Weld 50 amp one. I don't know. Works pretty good. I only use it for a few minutes, but it'll be perfect for what I need to do, since I already was playing with it on like scheduled height for manifolds and stuff. But kind of wanted to throw that in there. Thought some of you guys might be interested in hearing that I may have fixed my thought to be broken welder. Alright, so now I'm at a bit of a standstill, so you can see the line that I drew on there right there. That is where I have to add a V-band, which, like I mentioned before, I was probably going to have to add one because of the control arm. This goes over the arm just fine, and this piece fits perfect, except for this almost comes out to the bumper, so obviously I do have to trim that down. So I more or less just need this section up to right about here, and then I'm going to have to try and like fake the funk a little bit to get it to attach to the muffler, because again, the muffler is so stinking huge. But yeah, need to add a V-band somewhere right there, so that way it is removable in that rear section. Otherwise, you're gonna have to drop the control arm every time you have to make adjustments or remove your exhaust. Next day now, chilly morning, we got our V-band clamps, and now we can proceed with the exhaust setup here in the back. So it really shouldn't be that bad. Again, tight fit, but I'm gonna keep on trudging away at this, and I'll kind of show you guys what we're working with once I figure out the placement of this clamp situation. So thankfully I was able to get that part, or get this tail section made up. Pretty quickly. So there we go. I do, if you'll see, I have the jack under the tire like that because I'm hoping that that is as high as the suspension will go. Because 3-inch pipe on a Honda Civic, like obviously it fits, but it wasn't intended to, so you can imagine it's a tight fit. So I'm gonna go through. I like to just MIG weld to tack, because again, without having a lift and a shop where my TIG welder can be right next to the car, makes it really difficult to do this all without it. So I just tack it with the MIG. I go through and I clean the tack set, and I go over it with the TIG. Alright, it's all finished up being welded, obviously minus the hangers. So got our V-band section there, little 45, whatever, I don't know, it's probably like a 50, 40, so I don't know, bend. But yeah, so hopefully it all fits super well, assuming that nothing shrunk too crazy, which I doubt it did. It's mild steel, it doesn't really move that much. We can hang this up, add the hangers, and then do the detent springs, and this thing's ready to go. Thankfully he also supplied us with these hangers. I don't know if I already mentioned that. Those are some thick things, holy crap. So I don't even know if we have the rubber parts that can go on that. Might have to cut that piece off and just use the rest of this and make my own hangers. Got the exhaust hung up, it's bolted on. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this new O2 sensor in really quick, and then we'll just move on to the springs super fast. So the springs are pretty easy. I'm not gonna go into great detail because there's much better videos doing just that on the YouTube, but basically just pulling the shift selector out here, and you can get your big and your little spring in there. And then I have to go back and look because I forget where the other little springs go, but we'll kind of glimpse over it. I'll show you what's in there. Well, looks like my package finally came. This should be my tripod, so I can stop using the little guy for trying to do like other shots. I mean, that thing's decent for doing like undercar and like vlogging, but I've been needing a new tripod for a long time since I haven't had one, or absolutely ever. Sweet. over this in previous videos. The springs that we're changing right here are this big one, and there's a little one inside of it. So you're just gonna hold everything by hand, take this 12mm bolt out, slide it out carefully, and then replace those 2 springs. To get to the detent springs, I am gonna have to pull this trans mount bracket off, because there's 3 bolts under here, and those 3 bolts are what hold where the springs go. So I'm gonna just go ahead and knock that out really quick. So these 3 bolts in a line right here are the bolts that we need to get to. I had to take his whole mount off, and for whatever reason he decided to run his clutch line through the bracket there, so can't really get that off of there. Yeah, but they're just 3 12mm bolts, and they're only torqued to 16 foot-pounds if you care to torque them. And let me just show you really quick. We're just going to unbolt it, pull it out, and the spring will be on it, and we just swap the new spring onto it. Okay, so there's the bolt. The spring just sits inside of it right there. So you can see that this new spring, smaller, less tension, and then old spring, smaller, less tension, new spring, taller, more tension. There is a ball bearing in there. It stays in there. That's what the spring will sit on. So we're just gonna go set that right back in there and tighten it back down onto it. So just try and make sure you get it centered in there, otherwise you might have issues shifting the gears. And just like the instructions say, if you buy them from like Hybrid, just check your gears once you're done. So that should be good. Now 2 more. Finally done. detent springs are in, everything's tightened down. So let's see if this thing will fire up. Got the new O2 sensor in, got the old O2 sensor, well the factory O2 sensor tightened down. So let's hope that this thing actually fires. And get a sound test. Well, it's not firing still, so it's just cranking, and it reeks and reeks of ethanol right now, so maybe it's still too cold. I'm gonna text the guy, see if there's something else that he wants to do, but I will get a sound clip for you guys before this video ends. The 85 starts, so.
It's wanting to start.
Yeah.
Yes! It does sound a little better.
Yeah.
Yes! Alright, now this is a real.
Alright.
Let's get it.
you guys go. Car finally fired up. I didn't want to be the one to burn out his starter. He kept saying, you gotta crank it. I think I timed myself cranking at one point for like 40 seconds, wasn't about it, but I'm glad he got it fired up and he is in love with how it sounds, and it sounds much better than when it arrived, let me tell you that. So ideally, I mean technically it is still straight pipe 3-inch case series with a huge muffler, but it really does not sound bad. Like I thought it was going to be a lot louder, and it's really not that bad. So I don't know if the iPhone camera did it justice. He came by at like 9 o'clock last night to get the car because, you know, he was working all day. So stoked that Aaron brought the car by again. Eternally grateful for people like him that continue to come back and support me time and time again. So if you guys did enjoy this video though, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. If you're new to the channel, I hope that you guys consider subscribing. If you want to help support the channel, please by all means go hit up the Big Cartel, scoop some merch. I will have DA bars back in stock here soon. I have one DA rear bar in stock at the moment, and I have a couple EG/Delso fronts for those of you who may be interested. So thank you guys again for hanging out with me here on the channel. Remember to do what you love, forget about the rest, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.